In this video I'm going to quickly go over camera settings in Automobilista 2 that should be helpful for reducing motion sickness and discomfort from the visuals of the simulator and the way the camera moves around, especially for those of you that are prone to motion sickness, those of you with large monitors, and also those of you that are using a VR headset. So let's get straight to it here. Jumping straight into the game. Of course, you can subscribe, you can click the like button, and you can say, Gamer Muscle, you're such an attractive man in the comments section if you want to. But let's get straight to settings because you probably don't want to waste your time. What you need to do is you can go in game, you can go to a track, you then just click options, and you then go to camera. Now, the settings that you want to adjust here to get this as best possible is you want the head movement on 100, you want to have use legacy movement on no, and you want to have vertical G effect on 30. Everything else should be 0. Now, you might also, you could experiment with just having the vertical G on lower settings. I found 30 to be good enough for me. But the crucial thing is if you don't want this on 0. Now, to explain why these settings work and are the best that I've managed to get so far, I wouldn't say things are perfect in AMS2. I think the onboard camera in iRacing is much, much better. But after spending too much time vomiting whilst fiddling around with settings, let me explain why these are the best settings that I've found and what each thing does. So, high-speed shake, that obviously just shakes the camera when you're going quickly. You don't want that. It's weird. It's added on. It doesn't make any sense. You might want it if you want to feel like you're in an action movie or watching a movie of a GoPro trundling down a... Well, not even a GoPro because they have smoothing. But generally, you don't want that on. You don't want the shake. This is basically lock to horizon with an amount that you can turn the lock to horizon on or off. For some reason, they've called it head movement, and every single computer game decides to name lock to horizon and head movement and stuff differently and have these operate differently just to make things fun for sim racers. By having this on 100, that is 100% lock to horizon. If you reduce this down, it's 100% locked to the car. Now, the lock to horizon setting means that if you're going up a hill, for example, the front of the car will sort of detach from your camera, and so when the car goes up and down like this, or even when the car goes up or down, your camera stays straight. So it'll look a bit disconnected. Your steering wheel might look a little bit disconnected from the cockpit, but what you'll find, or if you're on screens, if you're in VR, it won't. But if you're on screens, what you'll find is, though that disconnection can happen, and though it's especially on sudden abrupt stuff or very steep bits of track, uphill or downhill, though that's a little bit disconnecting in some ways on screens, that will mean when this is on 100 that the road surface is always clear and sharp. So the road surface isn't moving up and down relative to your camera, making it all appear blurred or just jumping around, forcing your eyes to have to hunt for where the track surface is. In real life, you have, the way your head works is you have your neck, which filters out large bumps. Well, actually, you've got your hips and your legs. You're just a block of gelatin, basically. But your neck filters out a lot of bumps. And then your eyeballs are suspended in the sockets in squishy eyeballs that then filter out high frequency vibrations. So if you've ever done even like mountain biking, actually mountain biking is probably worse than anything on cars, but if you've done go-karting, which is no suspension, it's very bumpy, even then you can pretty much generally always see the track surface quite clearly, and your brain, your eyes, your neck, your body does quite a good job of filtering out the vibrations so the track surface is clear. And that's go-karts, which is pretty much worst case scenario. Anytime I've been in a real car, and I've been in some reasonably fast cars on a track, a Radical SR3, Lee's Toyota Celica, an Ariel Atom, a GT4 BMW, and a GT4 Aston Martin, and Ferraris and stuff, and BMWs, other BMWs, I don't know what they were, like road BMWs. Any car I've ever been in, you can see the road very smoothly, even when a lot of stuff is going on. So it's weird. Some people set the sims up so it's really bumpy because they think that that's realistic. That's just what it looks like when you film a car with a fixed camera to the car and you've not got any stuff in it. It's not what it looks like to your eyes. Anyway, 100% head movement does a really good job of locking the track, locking the camera to the horizon. Some simulators have a setting called lock to track, which is actually better than lock to horizon. Now, in AMS2 you have this use legacy head movement option. Now, the legacy head movement on yes completely locks the camera to horizon, not only in the vertical but also in the horizontal. And what you'll notice is that when you've got this on, when you go around a bank, your car is like rotating around you in a really weird way, and it really doesn't work too well. It can become more comfortable for some people, but it really is dislocated if you've got screens. VR, it might work for some people, it might not. But using the non-legacy head movement, you find that the camera follows the car, stays with the car better. And also, I think this non-legacy movement is probably a little bit more locked to track than it is locked to horizon. There's different smoothing going on in the background. There's different options. Now, unfortunately, in many other simulators, if you just had locked to horizon 100%, that would be good enough. That would do the trick. Unfortunately, with Automobilista 2, there's a point where when the camera rotates a certain amount, it kind of hits like a clipping plane, and then it suddenly jolts, which is very jarring and probably causes a lot of motion sickness for people. That will happen on the legacy legacy head movement. That happens less for rotation on this setting, because the camera's tracking with the car better, but you still get it happening with the up-down movements if there's a sudden incline or decline on a track. Now, weirdly, this then fixes that problem. But before I go to the GForce vertical effect, let's go through them in order. The GForce effect lateral, when you're going around a corner and the tires are gripping and ungripping, you're moving, that causes the camera to move left and right. Why would you want that? I mean, some people might find they enjoy that it kind of looks like there's more motion there. I guess some people might use it as a visual cue that they're experiencing more G-forces. So I do get that there's a reason why some people might like that, and especially on smaller monitors, that could work really well. But if you're using large screens in VR, you'll probably find that this is arbitrary, artificial, and probably likely to cause motion sickness, especially at higher settings. So I just turn that off. Longitudinal will be when you accelerate, the camera will like move backwards. When you brake, the camera will move forwards. Again, some people might find that adds to the thrill of the G-forces in the sim and visually lets them feel like they're accelerating and braking. But you don't, in a real car, you're so strapped into the seat. If you're in a race car with a 6-point safety harness and hands and everything, you're not really moving your head around that much. Your head's kind of locked in. You're feeling G-forces, but you're not visually seeing it too much. And in fact, when I was in the Radical SR3, my head was banging on the roll cage. And even then, I was aware that my head was smashing on the side of the car. My neck hurt, but the track was totally smooth. Your brain filters it all out. So those are better off. Now, the reason why I put the vertical effect on 30, though, is for whatever reason, that's the up-down movement, by the way. If you go over a bump on the track, the camera could go up and down. What this ends up doing is negating the legacy head movement setting up here. It ends up negating the sudden clipping movement that you get when you go up a slight hill, and it actually ends up, I think by accident basically, smoothing out that sudden jolt movement that would otherwise cause motion sickness. Now the problem is with all these kind of things where you've got a bit of smoothing and stuff, if you're very familiar with VR, anything with like degrees of smoothing can cause motion sickness, and it's very different from person to person what type of movement will cause a sickness. But from my experimentation, sort of a low setting, 20 to 30 on this, seems for the most part to rectify things as best possible. So you know, that's the best I could. I'm honestly, I'm on the edge of throwing up after going through this for 2 hours, and this was the best I could get with these huge screens. To go through the other settings for those of you that want to know what they do, show helmet. No, why would you want to have a helmet on? If you're wearing a VR headset, it already feels like a helmet in many ways. If you're using an ultra wide, you've already got like a helmet view going on. If you're using even 355-inch monitors, it's kind of the view that you get from a helmet. You don't need a graphic on your screen to add to the lack of visibility. It's such a stupid thing that happened. It was around about 2004, I think, developers started doing that because it looks good in videos, but it is terrible to actually use. If you like it, use it. You know, you should do whatever you like with Sims, but I think it's stupid. But if you enjoy it, great. Good for you. Helmet depth of field. Why on earth would you want depth of field? Maybe if you're doing cinematic stuff and you're filming it. In real life, your eyes focus immediately on what you're looking at, unless you've got eye tracking in a VR headset and sort of multiple lenses and everything, and you can't do depth of field properly in real time. So just turn it off so it's all sharp. So wherever you look, it's sharp. Helmet look to apex. Oh God, some people like this. I think it's terrible. So basically, when you turn this on, as you turn or as you go around a corner, the camera will turn into the corner. Somewhat emulating the natural effect of your head to look into a corner or your eyes to look into the corner in a real car. The problem is, if you have this, it will be separate to what the physics are doing, and it can interfere with like the actual rotation of the car that's actually happening, so it makes it harder to detect what's really going on with the physics of the vehicle, because you've got the physics plus the arbitrary look to apex going on. You don't really want that. Again, I know some people do drifting and use it in drifting. It can be helpful for that, especially when the look to apex is attached to wheel rotation. You might enjoy it. You might get used to it. Again, I'm really happy for people that like that. And anyone can get used to anything, but it's terrible. It's an awful setting. You're much better off with a nice ultra wide or 3 budget 55-inch OLEDs or a very nice Pimax VR headset, which everyone can afford. I get why people use look to apex, but I think even when I used a single monitor, even when I was on a 22-inch monitor, even when I was on a 15-inch monitor, I would turn these settings off and never use them in stuff like R-Factor 1 because they're terrible. So no look to apex. Helmet leaning, why? And camera leaning. Why? Why do you want that? Again, if you enjoy it, do it. Might as well. It's good to mess around with settings and do what you want to do. I'm all in favour of people messing around. That's a nice thing with Sims. You do whatever you feel like doing. But hopefully, me going through this and explaining how things work and why you may or may not want to use them has informed you as to why not you may not want to use them. But these settings for pure comfort and to avoid getting motion sick are the best that I've got so far. Also, with that, with the non-legacy setting, it means when you do oval racing in this, or you go around a steep bit of track, you'll find that the camera actually stays with the car. So if you use the legacy lock to horizon on 100 with the legacy, when you do oval, it will look like you should fall out of the car. It doesn't make any sense. But there you go, guys. That is a quick guide to the onboard camera settings in Automobilista 2. Hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully you found it really exciting. I think you should share it with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or just share it with everyone. It's great knowledge. Let me know in the comments if you found it useful, or if anything you've done that you feel works for you that other people might benefit from. But till the next one, thank you very much for watching. Happy tea drinking, and goodbye, guys.